to start.
Rock concert movement number 1. The basic head bob. Ready, go.
Hello, there we go. That was strange. All right, 1:30 Bradshaw with you here on the day before Apocalypse. Apparently,
There's another one?
yeah, there's another one.
Whose is this?
No, don't worry, this one doesn't come from religious radio, so we're good. But yeah, all this is turning to snow tonight.
Oh, it's a snow apocalypse.
Yeah,
Totally heard about that.
yeah, that one. I don't know. Have we stocked up on white bread, AA batteries, and milk? Those are like the three.
I have a bunch of D cells.
There you go. Well, it's good if you're going to attend a Philadelphia sporting event. Those are very popular from throwing from the upper deck.
Oh,
at
yeah.
JD Drew.
I don't normally throw stuff at people.
Philly booze Santa Claus, so it's a different world.
I was just
there.
thinking I got those big flashlights. You know, they got the 20 that are
Again,
doubles a baseball bat.
You can use, yeah, for home defense as well.
Yep.
Those things are great. I just have the Torch app on my phone, so I can use
Get back or I'll beat you with my
the
iPad.
flash. Yeah, so I can do that. Although, speaking of religious, for the first time, I think in months, probably in about 6 to 8 months, and I'm going to blame this on microwave chimichangas. Tuned into a little Dace last night. That guy's off. I mean, he's not right. There's something like not clicking there. I don't. If he were a car, I think it'd be time for a tune-up.
Do you think it's just not clicking with you or just in general?
No, I don't think it's
I haven't listened to Dace in
very
a while,
angry.
So. Well, Dace, that's kind of Dace's thing.
Well, it's always been his thing, but it was like a jovial
I mean,
anger. There's a sharper edge to it now.
I like Dace, but Dace is clearly that kid, just like you were in high school, that I picked on.
I didn't get picked on in high school.
Well, it's because you didn't have me, because I would have picked on you.
Well, I went to Valley.
I
We would have hired people to take you out if you had bothered me at Valley.
Yeah, I don't know that you had the kind of money to do that, Bradshaw. I mean, I'm not saying you're poor. I'm just saying, well, you drive like a 19.
Yeah, I had a better car in high school.
Yeah, 1910 Honda Civic.
I had a better car in high school.
I believe that. It's probably newer, too.
Yeah, I would have had people, to take you out.
I don't know about that. I went to private school. My parents had big bank. I might win.
There were a couple East Siders there. The crowbars and
yeah.
You might have known them.
East Siders can't make it. No, I don't. I lived in Beaverdale. I don't know East Siders. We didn't. Beaverdalians don't get out of Beaverdale.
That is considered the East Side compared to us.
No. Beaverdale's
pretty much anything east of Dowling was no man's land.
That's called Windsor Heights.
I know that was no man's land.
Oh, you're a hopeless yuppie.
I'm just saying it ties in with what we're going to talk about today. Because
is there something in your pocket? Because you just said we.
No. Well, me, myself, and I, and all the fine people from around the universe tuning in, and that is the Republican Party has a true believer problem. Maybe a better way of putting it is their camouflage has turned hunter, orange. What is that official color? Dan, you shoot things. It is hunter orange. Is it like blaze orange as well? Is that? Okay, they're interchangeable. I don't know these things. I just know that if you're going to chase Sterling Archer into Vermont, you don't wear that. We did learn that one. The groups, that have provided the Republicans cover have actually turned into targets themselves. And what we're seeing now is the true believers. And yes, I tried to think of a more professional term, but it really is the only one I can think about that fits. And it's the electoral walk of shame. For those of you who aren't familiar, the walk of shame is in college about anywhere between 7:30 and 10 a.m. There's a period where you'll see people walk out of domiciles that are not their own, wearing their clothing from last night after a successful hookup. This is collectively referred to as the walk of shame, mostly by those of us who were completely successful in hooking up and were playing like Red Alert or something. That's what's going on today. What happens again when these wedge issues, these causes that you have camouflaged yourself in, all of a sudden become unpopular? And it turns out that the Republican Party, well, they hit it, and now they're trying to quit it. It's the tale of two pieces, one from Bleeding Heartland, the other from the Iowa GOP. For bleedingheartland.com or org, sure, I think it's com. Good site, Des Moines Dem, who I've never actually met, runs the joint. And this is covering the Iowans for Freedom event, featuring former Bush Mucky Muck Ken Melman. He was the RNC chairman for a time. Also included David Kokel. He ran Romney's Iowa campaign in 2012, who showed up with Dave Price on Channel 13. Dave, good get, to talk about the demographic shift. And his message was basically the culture wars are over and Republicans have lost. And it's time to move past, again, what in the past, and go back to just 2004 when Ken Melman himself, gay, former RNC German, was helping put together these anti-same-sex marriage ballot measures in an effort to draw out likely Republican voters. And it was a very successful tactic. But what happens when society changes? And all of these true believers are finding, again, that they are, it was fun. Don't call me, I'll call you. It's not you, it's me. And I want to get elected, and you're an anchor. So at the Iowans for Freedom event, this is according to Kay Henderson from Radio Iowa, RNC committeeman, former Steve Roberts was there, Tom Seinhorst, who ran Bob Dole's campaign, Eric Wolson, who managed not just Mike Huckabee's campaign in Iowa, but also the Vanderplat's gubernatorial campaign, was at least there. No one knows which side of the argument he was on, but he's there. And again, this is something that is happening in central Iowa. On the national level, we see the push for comprehensive immigration reform. We see RNC get-togethers with sensitivity training, even today, about the Republican message on immigration reform, which I actually have the memo. Don't use phrases like "send them all back." This is actual advice given to actual elected Republicans. Don't characterize all Hispanics as undocumented and all undocumented as Hispanics. I guess when your party includes Steve King, these are things you need to be reminded of. The other piece is one by Tamara Scott. She is an RNC committee woman. I would, again, use the very careful term, Christianist Christianist activist in central Iowa who's achieved some prominence in spite of, no offense, but displaying no intellectual capacity whatsoever. The GOP's message isn't outdated, just the mode of delivery. Oh, that's it. This coming from the RNC winter meetings. There are a good number of freshman RNC members, and from what I can see, many of them offer a terrific worldview and an allegiance to the Constitution. I'm glad there are no active traitors, I guess. I'm not sure what that sentence means, but okay. Of course, there are always those who seem ready to trade our values for a few more votes. Yeah, they call those people politicians, and their job is to, get votes. If only we could help these folks understand. Failing to stand for something also often leaves you with nothing. It is this wavering that weakens the confidence of the base and the ability to attract new members. I don't know if anyone's ever gotten that call from a spurned lover. That call 2 weeks after a breakup. No, reconsider. No, really. Please. Because in all of this word salad, basically, what I just believe, don't leave us behind. And again, I'm here to say to the true believers, again, the activists, the folks who have been coddled by the Republican Party, been hoodwinked, bamboozled, run amok. You didn't land on Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood landed on you. RNC members were promised repeatedly the message would not change and the values would remain. Still, there is concern that others may try to do just that. So it will be at the peril of the party if we give on core values that our base was built upon. Those values are losing. While you're being left at the altar, dumped before prom, whatever analogy, metaphor you want to throw out there. They hit it, and now they're quitting it. And this is something the Republican Party has to do. I mean, the truth that never gets talked about by the very serious people is at the core. The modern-day Republican Party is really about two things and two things only. Again, it's a value judgment, whether these are good or bad things. But at the end of the day, when you look, forget the diatribes and the grandstanding, feel-good legislation and appearances on, the Rush Limbaugh Show or Fox News. The two things that Republicans, truly care about and act on. And I'm not talking about, trying to pass 40 bills, banning abortions that don't exist or things like that. And those are just feel-good laws not meant to go anywhere. Those are just, to be lines added to a campaign speech to be written later. That's it. The two things Republicans will act on, care on, and respond very strongly to. Tax cuts for rich people, funneling money to their friends. And whether that's a good or a bad thing is up to, but it is a real thing. It is an actual thing. And all of the social issues, the wedge issues, the causes were camouflage. Maybe is there a better example than the Bush 2000 campaign, the compassionate conservatism? Remember, I'm a compassionate conservatism. This isn't my father's GOP, literally. I'm new and different. And once elected, what do I do? Um, drum up a war or two and cut taxes, mostly for rich people. Ta-da! Just some other examples. Even here in Iowa, Governor Branstad wants to cut commercial property taxes. He believes that Walmart needs a tax cut. Principal needs a tax cut. Wells Fargo needs even more tax cuts. When actual tax cuts end up in front of him, like the earned income tax credit, now this is one for poor people, i.e., not Republican supporters overall, that gets line item vetoed. Earned income tax credit gone because Branstad didn't get Walmart a property tax cut. Again, these are their priorities in action. Look at the fiscal cliff. Remember, this was supposed to be Armageddon. Why? Ended tax cuts for rich people and cut spending on defense, two things that Republicans find abhorrent. Right, for a party that has peacocked around and bayed at the moon for 4 years about the debt and the deficit. Right, the fiscal cliff was supposed to do just that. Right, it cuts spending. Republicans say they want to cut spending. Republicans say you get our fiscal affairs in order. Well, the fiscal cliff would have been a big step in actually accomplishing that. And, well, when it came due, they freaked the hell out. Shocker. It's almost as if the actions don't match the words. And this has been the truth of the Republican Party really since the Reagan Revolution. After the 76 election, right, Reagan lost the nomination. Republicans lost the White House. The evil geniuses went back to the lab, and hey, I'm one that admits, evil geniuses are still geniuses. Figured out that we need the 50% plus one, and we don't have it right now. Where are we going to get it? They cut their deal with the devil, bringing in the religious right. This was the Jerry Falwell, Tim LaHaye group, who were given a seat at the table, along with the adults. They provided a very handy camouflage. Turns out that, again, funneling more money to rich people isn't the best electoral, plan. So we need camouflage. We need subterfuge. We need cover. Now, luckily for Republicans, what they had in Ronald Reagan was a great salesman. Why? He had spent the last 20 years, mostly with GE, going around the country as a salesman. When the Hollywood career flamed out, he became a spokesperson for GE. He would travel the country, giving these pitches, these speeches. Yeah. Don't underestimate the power of a great salesperson. How many of us have actually bought a tub of OxyClean just to see if it worked? I own a ShamWow. Don't underestimate the power of a great salesman. The ShamWows suck, by the way. Not water, they in general. Now, they lost the great salesman. So then it became, well, we're going to go even deeper into cover. This was the 90s freak out was part of it, taking advantage of a good economy that led to, Bush, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, they would talk about anything but. And look at, the things they talk about. Immigration. choice. Gays, slash religious, read Christian issues. And again, as of late, the last few years, the debt and the deficit. None of these were actual priorities, and this is what the Tamara Scotts of the world don't understand. You provided cover. As the Republican Party devolved from the great salesman Ronald Reagan to essentially now a bunch of three-card Monte dealers getting paid $15 a word. Did you read this one? With Sarah Palin's contract not being renewed by Fox, maybe the greatest grifter of our generation walks away, having been paid $15 a word. $1 million a year for 3 years. She actually spoke 189,221 words. She was on once every 7.2 days. 2/3 of her appearances on the Fox broadcast properties were with heavy-hitting interviewers like Greta Van Susteren and Sean Hannity. But buy her book. Got a lot of keen insight. But what happens when these wedge issues become anchors? You're seeing now at least Republican leadership, Republican senators, again, who don't run in districts that have been gerrymandered to hell. They run statewide races. They play a different ball game than House members. They're on board. Even House leadership, Republican House leadership is on board in actually, trying to change the direction of the party. And whether it's Paul Ryan saying that he's open, to background checks on guns and closing loopholes. This is a position that the Republican Party, and especially, the NRA-backed ones, have fought tooth and nail for years. But they understand now that is a losing issue. It doesn't provide cover. It provides a target on your forehead, electoral target. But now, Republicans have to clean up the mess that these true believers have put up. Not only, again, did the true believers cost them control of the U.S. Senate, thank you, Todd Aiken, Richard Murdoch, Sharon Engel, Christine O'Donnell, etc., the kooks that these Tea Partiers are nominating over actual, electable candidates. But now, again, even the true believers are being thrown by the wayside. Turns out now that there's majority support for gay marriage in America. And again, it blew my mind. I didn't realize this, but I was too busy at the time pumping up my tennis shoes and changing the color of my T-shirt. It wasn't until the mid-'90s that America actually came to majority support for interracial marriage. Now I get why, again, Seal and Heidi Klum was such a big deal. But that was a dead issue. But man, that lasted a long time. Now we're seeing as more and more states adopt same-sex marriage, and more of those states show that it doesn't really affect anyone or anything overall. It's not a wedge issue anymore. It's an anchor. It hurts them with younger voters. It hurts them with more open-minded voters. And there aren't enough, single-issue true believers to make up for that. So it's got to go. It was a fun night. Here's your shoes. Get out. I got to get to class. 4 years ago, the term bitter clingers, right? This was the clinging to their God, gays, and guns. Have now morphed into trying to cling on to any sort of relevance. And as the culture has left behind a political party that, needs to get votes, is doing the same thing, and they're not taking it well. So as we see, the USS immigration reform move forward, what do you do if you were a Minuteman and you've been coddled by the Republican Party for so long? When it became actually acceptable not just to use the immigration version of I have a lot of black friends, which I'm all for legal immigration. It actually became socially acceptable. We saw these run during Republican debates. Ads saying, not only are we against illegal immigration, we're against legal immigration as well. Remember, those ads actually ran. That was like an acceptable, I believe this audience would like this message, so we're going to give it to them and offer to, raise support and raise money. And I'm sure it did. 1488 white power. That became an acceptable message. Yeah, it was outside the mainstream and it was fringe, but not fringe enough that somebody out there, ad buyer, political action committee, you name it, the audience for a Republican debate would be a good chance to expose them to our message. Well, then Romney pulls in 27% of the Hispanic vote. Oops. Yeah. Hell, even Walter Mondale can pull 2/3 of the Hispanic vote, and did. Something's got to change. No more filibustering the DREAM Act live on Univision for the GOP. As Lindsey Graham said, they're not making enough angry white people. The gay rights battle is over. Turns out, again, while people under 30 don't vote at a very high percentage, certainly nothing compared to seniors. Which is strikingly shocking because young people are far more mobile than seniors, but I guess motivation plays a key. But you see, they don't just disagree with these, old-timey religious values. They find them offensive. They find them a turnoff. And that's your next generation of soccer moms and NASCAR dads and whatever, stupid made-up term the media will focus on in any given election cycle. So we got to dump the culture warriors, and what we're seeing that process play out in real time. And I don't know, after watching the shenanigans for the last decade, watching the wackos infest, the Iowa GOP, I gotta say, it couldn't happen to a nicer bunch of people. Watching these people, get left behind. The true believers are being ditched, and they're going to take it about as well as they take most of reality. And again, this is something that, this isn't like unprecedented. The true believers that the races shouldn't mix. That is a bad political position. And is going to get ditched, and that is what is happening to the Republican Party these days. The problem is, or opportunity, I guess, every Democrat, they don't have anyone to, what are they going to replace them with? Romulans? If you believe that raw milk and gold and colloidal silver are the keys to electoral success. I certainly won't stop you. Good luck with that, Chairman Spiker. But there's the Republican Party being eaten by a monster of their own creation. So when you parse out, the word salad of Tamara Scott, or, the angry ramblings, again, Master Shake having a conniption fit. That's what Mark Levin is. Or even just the bitterness you hear from a Steve Dace. I'm a good person. I think I live a decent life, and I think I'm allowed a little bit of Schadenfreude. And I got to admit, I'm eating this up. This is great. It really is. And I'm excited about what comes next. And not only because I believe, again, the Republican core values, right? Tax cuts for rich people. Funnel more money to, the defense industry. I got a kick yesterday. Again, as Republicans live in this tighter and tighter tunnel, and all their media talks about the same stuff. I loved the conversation yesterday, from show to show, all about we're selling arms to Egypt and the Muslim Brotherhood, as if we haven't spent the last 30 years selling arms to anyone who will buy them. Why? It's money. Pakistan, you boil your people in oil for fun. Would you like to buy some F-16s? I mean, militarily, it's the equivalent of selling them Snap bracelets, Reebok pumps, and Guess jeans. We're like the world's largest defense Plato's closet. You want to buy old, outdated military hardware? We are the place to. We sell to pretty much all comers. I mean, anything short of, like, Somali warlord, we're on board. We'll play ball with you if you'll play ball with us. But that's been a Republican core value. Big defense industry equals better than. Pump the money into the Star Wars and missile programs that don't work, et cetera, et cetera. Funnel money to our people. And then accuse the other side of funneling money to their people as if it's a bad thing. Remember Romney's, gifts comments? Limbaugh's Santa Claus rants? Yeah, it's like pork. It's only bad when it doesn't go to your people. I mean, the Republican Party tried. They tried to cover up their failures with cries of fraud. They tried to ratchet up the crazy to 11, but their base has become an anchor and is being purged. So get your mugs, your Quick Trip 52-ounce, travel containers, Dixie cup, rain barrels, whatever you want. Collect the Republican tears. They are glorious. They are nourishing. And the supply seems never ending. Go to the Iowa GOP site. Read, and it's a tough read. Not because it's, complex word structure, sentences. But once you kind of cut through the gobbledygook word salad, seriously, find someone to look these papers over for you. What I read is a desperate appeal to A, deny reality, and B, maintain some sort of relevance in a world that has passed you by. Turns out, again, these issues that the people were bitterly clinging to have become a little slippery. Like I said before, couldn't happen to a nicer bunch of people. All right, going to take a break. Email me at radiobradshaw@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/radiobradshaw. When we come back, Chuck Grassley's a dick. Next on The Bradshaw Show, Webcast 1 Live. Thanks for watching. Back right after this.
Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershot.
I'm administrative mmanager
I'm the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's gonna be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're gonna do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Oh, there we go. 2:08. Bradshaw with you here on the last of the decent days. Seriously, it was 2 o'clock this morning, so 12 hours ago. I was walking outside in late January, no coat on, in a thunderstorm. And tomorrow we're supposed to have like 6 inches of snow on the ground. Maybe a few more solar and wind plants is all I'm saying. Let's get a few more, I don't know what, again, prii? What's the plural of prii? Let's get a few more prii on the road, maybe some volts. So last segment talking about the true believers, the social conservative electoral walk of shame. A little more evidence on that front, and that is today Republicans are getting guidelines as the immigration debate is happening in our country, and apparently someone at the RNC figured out that winning 27% of the Latino vote is probably a bad sign for trying to win national elections. Tone and rhetoric will be key in the days and weeks ahead as both liberals and conservatives lay out their perspectives. Please consider these tonally sensitive messaging points as you discuss immigration. And I would love to see the notes in the margins of Steve King's copy of this. Do acknowledge that our current immigration system is broken and we need to fix it. Mighty whitey. Don't begin with, we are against amnesty. Don't use the phrase pathway to citizenship. Don't use phrases like send them all back, electric fence, build a wall along the entire border. Don't use the words illegals or aliens. Don't use the term anchor baby. Maybe it's because it offends Michelle Malkin, who is one. Don't use President Reagan's immigration reform as an example applicable today. Yeah, I would have loved to have been at the presentation of these guidelines. More, I would have loved, like Clockwork Orange style, make Steve King sit there and watch wide-eyed. Because that would have been a hoot. But again, this is a problem. Again, the Republican establishment, the folks who write big checks and the folks actually, tasked with getting elected, versus House Republicans who live in very gerrymandered districts who have been coddling the xenophobes for years now. When everyone started rearranging deck chairs on the GOP in 2006, the Bush strategy of Latino outreach was thrown out the window to play hungry, hungry. How many wannabe Minutemen can we attract to our cause in an attempt to save the ship? Not enough. So we'll see how that influences the debate. We already have Limbaugh, saying that it's up to me and Fox News to kill this immigration deal. That should be a lot of fun. The other flip side, excuse me, as the Defense of Marriage Act, is racking up losses at an almost Washington General's rate these days. It's fallen to House Republicans who have their stewards of the pocketbook, spending our money to hire lawyers, in this case Paul Clement, to argue for the Defense of Marriage Act. Just, again, when I think we reach the bottom of the barrel, a new low. In this case, this is an actual argument being made by the anti-gay marriage crowd to the Supreme Court of the United States. This is not an Onion article. This is not some just dude on Facebook. This isn't a forwarded email. This isn't from Bob Vanderplatz. Opponents of marriage have told the Supreme Court marriage should be limited to unions of a man and a woman because they alone can produce unplanned and unintended offspring. Apparently, House Republican lawyers have never seen an episode of 16 and Pregnant or Teen Mom 2. I could see Janelle running for a Republican House someday. By contrast, when same-sex couples decide to have children, substantial advance planning is required. This is their argument, not mine. Apparently, gay people are too responsible to be married. Quote, the traditional marriage laws reflect the unique social difficulty with opposite-sex couples that is not present with same-sex couples, namely the undeniable and distinct tendency of opposite-sex relationships to produce unplanned and unintended pregnancies. Unintended children produced by opposite-sex relationships and raised out of wedlock would pose a burden on society. Same-sex couples need not be included in the definition of marriage because they don't present a threat of irresponsible procreation. They're out of bullets. They're throwing guns. And not even like the Bushmasters. They're throwing like pop guns and super soakers, Nerf. I don't, keep smacking. You're going to get some of that stuffing out of Trigger, I guess.
So I got a question, though.
Okay.
So this is just honest questions for you, Bradshaw.
Okay.
I don't know much about what you're talking about as far as that new law, so I'm not going to claim I do.
No, this is again, when the Obama administration, and again, I said it at the time, I don't like the precedent of we're not going to defend laws that we believe are unconstitutional. I think you run through the process, if for no other reason than I don't want the next Republican president.
Sure.
To do, I'm not going to enforce the Civil Rights Act because I
Sure.
don't like it. So I don't like the precedent. But when I see, this is an argument being presented to the Supreme Court of the United States.
Yeah, and I don't know that it, for me, really says why they can't be.
We don't need to protect same-sex marriage couples. The root of the argument is same-sex couples have to go through planning, preparation, involve third parties,
Sure.
to produce a child.
Yes. This is true. You agree?
Yeah, we straight folk, all right, can just spray and pray all over the place.
Well, I did watch Teen Mom too, and I saw somebody that had twins just got pregnant with another baby daddy.
Yeah, those are target-rich environments there, but
And then they offered sex advice.
but I
to
say
me
we
during
need
the
to
break.
we need to encourage opposite couples to get married because there's just they're screwing and procreation all over.
Well,
the
but
place.
don't you think that we should have laws that protect the children?
Well, this isn't about protecting the
Well-
children. This is about saying that we need to encourage opposite-sex couples to get married, or else we're just, again, going to be inseminating wildly. We're like a death blossom of genetic material.
Well, we kind of are, though. And I don't know that I would use your terminology. I think that's kind of fictitious and cartoonish. But we do have.
Well, yeah,
we do have a lot of fatherless.
the death blossom was actually CGI.
Yeah, well, we do have
There
a lot,
is no Frontier
we do
or
have
Codan
a lot
Armada.
of parentless kids that are relying on one or less parents these days, and I
Yeah,
think
but what does gay marriage have to do with that?
I don't think gay marriage has anything to do with it. But
I don't either, which is why I'm making fun of the Republican lawyer who is saying that there is a connection.
Well, I don't think that in the gay marriage the idea would be the same, because you're right, they do have to go through third party. There's a lot of other factors in there, and so it probably doesn't need to be as protected as much. Part of the reason we have divorce law is because before we had divorce law, men would divorce the wives and leave them penniless with all the kids, and so we had to enact laws that protected the family unit as a whole instead of just one individual. And so I don't think, though, however, in the gay relationship, that is as necessary. Now, is it necessary? Sure. Is it as necessary, though? Because a lot of those laws, like with a custodialship of children, if they adopted, or or if one had that it was the natural father and the other one was an adopted father, or mothers, I don't want to exclude them. There are already laws and expectations set up when those are made binding, that those titles. So I don't know that it's as important.
No offense, but huh?
Exactly.
What?
Well, why do you think why would you think it's so important to protect a gay marriage?
Because they have every right to marry the person I love
I'm
that
not-
I do.
No, I'm not talking about whether they have the right to. Why do we have marriage as a society? Why does the government Why is it involved in marriage?
Well, that's again completely separate and different.
But I don't think it's separate and different. I think the reason we have those laws is to protect the family unit, and those concerns aren't present.
Well, I think
in the homosexual
hold on.
marriage.
I disagree there. I think there is, and I'm sure there are arguments for both sides. A value in marriage. At the very least, there is no societal harm to having marriage. So if people want to get married, we're down with that. If you want to ban something like yelling fire in a crowded theater, you need to prove the societal harm.
I agree with you, but
what's falling by the wayside are the arguments that gay marriage provides a societal harm. I don't like it. I think it's icky, or it goes against my particular holy book.
I'm not arguing from a biblical or an icky position.
But
here.
no, those are the arguments that have been
I understand
made.
that some people of lesser intelligence would make those arguments. I'm not making those arguments. What I'm saying is I don't believe that a homosexual marriage needs to have some of the laws pertaining to marriage that a straight marriage does, because there's not the risk factors involved. And that's completely different. It's not saying that they can't get married or that we shouldn't. It's just saying that they're not requiring of those uses, in which is the only reason the government is involved in the business of marriage in the first place. Yeah, and you could say what again?
That one, yeah, that's a legitimate, huh?
Yeah, I know, but you think it's legitimate, but it's not legitimate just because you say it is.
No, I mean that's a guy. I'm a pretty bright guy. I don't get what you're saying.
I'm saying that part of the reason the government is involved, or most of the reason, besides taxation in marriage, in the marriage business, is protect the family unit. Because in a homosexual relationship, the family unit is not generated naturally, but through other combining of families, whether it be by adoption or adoption of one of the spouses.
Yeah, but all of these things happen in straight marriages as well.
They do, but I would also say in those cases it's not as necessary as well.
I don't know. My buddy who went through in vitro fertilization would probably disagree with you.
But that's different. In vitro fertilization still has biological parents in the same couple normally, and that's
okay. Anyone who's ever used a sperm bank would probably disagree with you.
That's a willingly consenting into a parentship, being parents of a thing, and so it's different. It still wouldn't require that because they already willingly accepted that responsibility.
Again, there are no methods of procreation with gay couples that aren't also available to straight couples.
Yes, there are. A gay guy cannot have sex with another gay guy and produce a child. That's just,
no. I said the way that they procreate.
You said no methods of procreation.
Yeah, that are available to gay couples aren't available to straight couples.
No, absolutely. But
that's what I said.
But those aren't what we're protecting. That's not what those laws. When those laws were drafted, half of those options you just suggested weren't even available.
Yeah, so what's going to be available in 15 years, 20 years?
It's hard to say, but I don't know that we need to legislate for the future.
I mean, the root of the failure of the anti-same-sex marriage crowd is that they have failed to show societal harm.
I'm not really anti-same-sex marriage. I don't care what they call it.
And that's
if
the
we're gonna
point.
Be anti-anything, you need to start with anti-gay relationship, and I'm not willing to go that far, so there we are.
I mean, what we started talking about here is just the absurd lengths.
I don't think it's
those
are good points they were bringing up. The marriage was built for these protections of a family unit is a decent point.
I would love to see this argument presented orally in front of the Supreme Court. I think it would be high comedy, and it would make me very much rue the fact that they don't allow cameras.
You think anything that disagrees with you is high comedy?
No, this is high comedy.
Okay.
Saying that basically gay people are too responsible to get the protections of marriage. Yes, Mac, what can I do for you today?
How are you today?
Off. I'm having a great day. Is
your camera broken? You don't need to look at me anyway.
How
does it look?
Off.
Anyway.
I didn't move this. I work around this stuff.
First of all, let's make sure we start with the facts.
All right.
Gay is a choice. Being gay is a choice.
What do you base that fact on?
There's no medical difference between a homosexual and a heterosexual.
Okay.
You cannot find a biological difference. A black man has black skin. A woman has indoor plumbing. A child is not yet matured. An old person has gray hair for the most part. There is no such medical term as gay. Gay is simply a sexual deviance that someone chooses.
would disagree with the deviance.
Well, it's a sexual choice that someone chooses.
I would disagree with the choice as well. I didn't choose to dig chicks when I was, a kid.
Okay. Well, I chose to dig.
I didn't just magically open up, a stolen copy of Hustler one day, and it all fell into place.
Well, actually, psychology would tell you did. At some point, you made the choice that you were attracted to women rather than men.
But I never sat down again with the
You didn't
the
have
list
to sit
of
down and think
pros
about
and
it.
Cons.
You didn't have to sit down and think about it.
At the end of the day, you don't choose what gives you a stiffy. I mean, I know that's kind of crass, but
Well, I'm going to put a 100-year-old naked woman in front of you, and then I'm going to put a 16-year-old naked woman in front of you. And I'll bet the old woman doesn't give you what'd you call it? Stiffy? Okay. So first of all, there's no medical.
Doesn't make me turgid.
There's no medical evidence that gay is natural. We have to.
Oh yeah, we know that it's natural. It happens in the animal kingdom.
It's not biological.
It happens in the animal kingdom.
It's a choice.
Do dolphins choose?
It's a choice.
Do penguins choose same-sex relationships?
It's a choice.
Well, how does a penguin end up?
I don't know anything about penguins.
With a man.
So far, we don't have a man who wants to marry a penguin. That will come.
Well, no, a penguin is not a consenting adult.
Okay.
Obviously, there's...
So what you have is in a heterosexual marriage and in a homosexual marriage, you have the emotion of, the feelings of, I love you.
Love, commitment.
Physically attracted to you.
Stability.
Okay.
And I wouldn't even argue the physical attraction. I mean, how many marriages in this country are sexless?
Okay. And so in a heterosexual marriage and a homosexual marriage, they're really based on the same thing. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, the only difference would be that the heterosexual couple can have babies.
Not all of them.
And the homosexual folks can choose to adopt or do the test tube baby.
Tubes,
okay. But
surrogates.
Those are both based on emotion. Right? I love you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be the Hollywoods and the green cars. But yeah, generally, if we want to speak in generality.
So the basis of American marriage is going to be because I love you. That's what you're telling me, the basis of American marriage.
I want to commit to you.
Right. I love you. I want to commit to you.
Now, the two aren't always connected, but yeah.
Right. So where's the slippery slope going to take us?
Nowhere.
Why not? What happens when
where are you afraid of going?
What happens when the man wakes up and says, that 14-year-old girl, I love her and I'm committed to her?
Then your issue is a 14-year-old a consenting adult? In many societies, including ours, I mean, I believe... up until recently, you could marry a 14-year-old in Kansas.
Okay. And you're okay with that?
Well, no. We have gone out of our way to label consenting adult. This is why men aren't marrying toasters,
now, hold on.
Trees, dogs,
what you're
or
asking,
anything that Rick Santorum talks about.
You're asking for the change in American laws so two people of the same gender who say, I love you, I want to commit to you, can be married.
Two consenting adults.
Okay. No.
Yes.
Okay.
That is actually what we're
So what happens when
for.
what happens when the gay liberation now decides to attack consenting adult phrases?
They
would
have to
standard?
make the case that there is there's no societal harm in marrying a, insert object, child, whatever. Again, Rick Santorum's fevered imagination comes up with.
And so when they get that lobby going and rolling like they have gay marriage, you're okay with that?
Well, no, I disagree. I believe that there is societal harm in marrying 12-year-olds. I don't think Warren Jeffs, is a model. I don't think Ted Nugent, is someone that requires protection. For
What's the societal protection if I want to marry my sister?
Then that would come into genetics and interbreeding.
Well, I'll get my thing cut, and so we won't be able to have natural babies. Can I marry my sister then? Because I love her and I want to commit to her. But you can sterilize me, so there will be no societal ills. Because we're not going to have a deformed, retarded, autistic, under emotionally developed child, right?
Yeah,
so is that okay then? Can the slippery slope go there?
Well,
or I want to marry my mother.
Slippery.
And now I want to marry my horse.
Well, a horse isn't a consenting adult.
But the horse has no rights already. So if the horse doesn't have any rights, he can't say no. So all I got to do is get my legislature, get my $1 billion worth of rolling money like the gay liberation has behind it, and get it to the point that the horse has no choice. It has the choice of an animal.
Exactly.
I, as a male, want to marry it.
No choice, so there's obviously not a marriage there if you want to rape a horse. There are many states, by the way.
But I want tax deductions.
Legal.
I want tax deductions of marriage. Because the only reason the government's involved is taxes.
I think we could make the claim, and just through Sarah McLachlan commercials alone, that there is a societal harm to animal abuse.
Okay. Here's my point, Bradshaw.
Now, you're afraid of
in
what
2013, we have women who have to follow the same standard as men to fight in the military, our mothers. We have people who simply say, I love you and I want to commit to you, saying that now I can be married. And remember, when that's the standard, Katie, bar the door.
Well, I mean, that's
brothers, sisters, it doesn't matter.
Literally, this was the exact same argument made against interracial marriage. Now, that seems absurd today.
But look what happened.
It didn't in 1967.
Right, but look what happened. So what do you think society will...
Seal and Heidi Klum broke up.
Okay. What do you think will happen in 50 years when the standard is, I love you, I want to commit to you? And there's no moral standard for what a marriage is anymore. Why can't two horses get married? Why can't a male horse and
adults.
But it doesn't matter. Because consenting adults have gone out the window. They've attacked that rule, too. Consenting adults is now 14. It's 12.
No,
you bleed, you breed.
We're actually moving that upwards, where you can't get married as a 13-year-old. You can't marry your 12-year-old daughter off.
But what happens when the pedophiles, who are no different than gay people...
Yeah,
they're just choosing
predators.
No, come on, that's so unfair. They're just choosing to love someone and commit to them in a different way than you feel is acceptable.
No, I think that's incredibly offensive.
You're offended now?
Yeah.
Why? Because I'm a man and I love this boy and I want to commit to this boy.
Most pedophiles are heterosexual.
Okay, but see my point? That's where we're heading.
No, to catch a predator isn't celebrated. We don't root for we root for Chris Hansen, but we don't root for the guy getting a glass of sweet tea and showing up with the bag of McDonald's.
If the standard is, this is how I feel about you, and that's the only thing that helps the state determine whether you can legally be married.
No one's arguing that should be the only thing.
The other thing is consenting adult. So when we lower the consenting adult to 14...
But then that's a different argument. That's lowering consenting adult. That's not a gay thing. That's an age issue.
Okay,
that is a completely separate argument.
So the consenting adult is now 14, and a 14-year-old boy decides he loves being with a 25-year-old man. Is that okay?
I don't believe that's okay, and I don't think society is moving in a direction that says that's okay. And I think you would be hard-pressed, by the way, to show me proof that it is moving in that way. You're bringing up the worst-case scenario, or throw what we can against the wall to see what sticks, because we don't want gay people to get married.
I don't care if gay people get married. You understand? Because there's no such thing as gay.
Well,
you have to start with that premise.
Dan Savage would disagree.
I don't care about Dan Savage.
The fan base of Liza Minnelli would disagree. Broadway would disagree, and every drama class would disagree.
And every forensic scientist would agree. There is no biological difference between a heterosexual and a homosexual. I'm going to have a forensic scientist in here in my show in 20 minutes. Ask him. There's no biological difference between someone who says I like girls compared to someone who says I like boys.
Well, there is obviously a difference.
It's a choice they made.
Where they put their
it's the choice they made. And I'm telling you, 63 years ago, my grandfather, God rest his soul, wouldn't have put up with interracial marriage. But society changed. My father won't put up with gay marriage. But society changes. We're going to get to the point where a man or a woman can choose to feel sexual towards a child, towards an animal.
Again, you're now comparing oranges. Age of consent is not same-sex marriage.
Okay. I hope I live long enough. I hope I live long enough to have this conversation with you in which pedophiles are now allowed to marry because they have lowered the age of consent.
There are and have been.
Okay, but they're going to.
Conservative hero himself, Ted Nugent, actually got a parent to sign custody of their underage daughter over to him so he could bang her without having to worry about statutory laws.
Okay.
Those people are out there, and
it's
they
legal.
are trying.
And it's legal.
What Ted Nugent did was legal.
Legal?
Yeah.
Okay. So
But no one's... Well, that's a separate argument.
No, it's not. It's what we accept as a society.
Well, what we accept as society always changed. For a long time, we accepted separate bathrooms. Women can't speak in church or vote.
Right.
And for a time, we said that you could own another human being.
So why?
And that was acceptable in society. And you'd argue we changed those things, and for the better.
So why do you not think that pedophiles will gain rights to be able to touch little children?
Because
why do you not think that? You just
14-year-old is a consenting.
Well, they'll just change the law of consent. The age of consent will now be 14.
Do you think that will become the majority position in America?
Well, the majority position.
Do you think that it'll become the majority position in America?
The majority position in America is against gay marriage.
No, actually, not anymore.
Listen, you watch CNN, you say no. I watch Fox, I say yes.
I know how the trends are going.
Okay.
Remember, interracial marriage didn't reach the 50% approval rank until the mid-1990s.
Right, and that's my point. But we had it in 1960.
Yeah, same-sex marriage came much faster. Society changed much faster.
Oh, no.
Why do you think we...
No. Same-sex marriage, they've been trying to do that since the Romans.
It was it was unprecedented. It was unthought of for a politician, let alone a president of the United States. Remember, we're not that far away from Bill Clinton signing Don't Ask, Don't Tell, signing the Defense of Marriage Act, and now we have a president that has evolved on same-sex marriage.
Flip-flopped.
Well, okay, for the better. Reading the tea leaves, you look at the 20-somethings and even the 30-somethings.
Well, I'm just telling you.
And that's why you have Ken Melman in town, here in central Iowa, the belt buckle of the Bible Belt.
Yeah, he was in our church Sunday.
Arguing for, look, it's time to drop the culture wars. They're a loser.
Right. And
we had Mitt Romney's
Right.
Iowa chairman going on Channel 13 and saying culture wars are over.
Right.
We lost.
Right. So, and you won.
Thank you.
And your standard is anything goes. If I feel
no,
it,
I'm not
I can do it.
arguing that standard.
Well,
you're fighting a straw man here.
No, your
Talk
deal
about what
is
I'm actually
your deal.
saying.
Your side's deal is if I want it, if I feel it, I can have it.
No, that's not my side. That is a caricature.
Okay.
Because I've already said you can't marry your horse. You can't marry an underage girl if you're Ted Nugent.
And there's no way a black man could marry a white woman. And that was within my lifetime.
I wouldn't argue that either.
Okay. All right. I got to go.
It's not that black
Have
or
a
white.
nice
You're
day.
trying to overcomplicate these things by bringing absurdities into it. Well, no, I mean, what you're doing, again, is, well, helping my side out, and I appreciate it. But at the end of the day, this is, again, we've reached the bottom of the electoral barrel. They're out of arguments. So they want to talk about anything but. We see the same thing with the gun lobby. We don't want to talk about guns. We want to talk about movies. We want to talk about video games. We don't want to talk about same-sex marriage because we know that's a lost cause. So we're going to talk about pedophiles in NAMBLA. We're going to take things that we know people don't like and try to associate the two. This is where Rick Santorum and his man-on-dog talk came from, because they know it's a loser, and the facts back that up. All right, just real quick before I know I'm late, but it's not my fault. I promise you, Chuck Grassley is a dick, and here's why.
You're still getting billed for it.
Today, the U.S. Senate voted on the final Sandy relief package, and for reasons that are known only, I guess, to him, Iowa's own Chuck Grassley voted against Sandy Aid. Now, again, we could bring up the any number of times that Chuck Grassley has requested and gotten disaster aid for the state of Iowa. We are a ag state. We are incredibly dependent on our weather, and whether it's the droughts of 2012 or the floods of 93. Again, it's not just, hey, Buzzard Billy's flooded in 2008, or Des Moines Waterworks was knocked offline in 1993. There are huge economic impacts to the ag industry. Ask a corn farmer this year. I mean, they're all corn farmers, but ask cattle breeder down in Texas. Ag is incredibly dependent upon weather, and outside the norm can cause big problems. In Iowa's, I'm not saying this is wrong, always first with their hand out, hey, you know what, we got hit by a hailstorm. And yes, Chuck Grassley did request federal disaster aid for a hailstorm. But when it comes to New York and New Jersey, it's, well, the hand's still out, but it's only got one finger up. I assume next time Iowa requests aid and Congress throws a fit, I'm sure Chuck Grassley will demur to the fine gentlemen from states that aren't affected and say, what's good for me is good for everyone else. But somehow I don't think that's going to happen. All right, stay safe. This dreary moist is going to turn into ice and cold. 6 inches of snow maybe in the metro, and I guess it's going to be that light, blowy stuff, so high winds as well. Tomorrow's commute is going to be interesting. In the meantime, email me, radiobradshaw@gmail.com. Find me on Twitter, twitter.com/radiobradshaw, where people are having a really interesting conversation. And just go to thebradshawshow.com. You can email me from there. All the contact info is on there. I'm going to go home, fire up the Star Trek Online, and farm me some contraband. So it's a good way to pass the time. We'll reconvene tomorrow at 1:30 here on Webcast One Live. Thank you for watching. I will see you tomorrow.